what do you all think of when you hear the word slavery? So, have you ever beaten your girls? Jackknife, a pimp, in an interview answers. They look like they finna get out of line or say something stupid, you might get slapped up, I don't know, might cut you, whatever. So, have you ever done that before? Me? Female ran away once or twice. I cut the bottom of her foot. So, you cut with a knife? Nah, I cut with a razor. A razor? Yeah, when I did that, I let all them bitches know. So if they want to leave, you don't let them leave. They can leave. I'm not holding you at gunpoint, and I don't have you handcuffed. You say it's a choice for them, but after what you've just told me, it sounds like they'd be absolutely scared to death of leaving. They can leave. She can leave, I told her. I just told her, you gonna remember me though. You see, these pimps out here doing way worse than what I'm doing. You see, they're kidnapping bitches, tying them up, killing them, saying they can't go anywhere or see their family. It's really bad out here. Even though Jackknife thought he was a good pimp, which does not exist, he still sold these girls into modern-day slavery, where rape and sexual assault are merely occupational hazards. He was actually practicing a more common form of sex trafficking, where threat and intimidation is just as common as chains and handcuffs. In fact, there are more slaves in the world today than there ever have been at any one point in history. 40.3 million, to be exact. You are all surrounded by slaves in your daily lives. You just can't really see their handcuffs anymore. The traffickers who traffic the girls and the Johns who buy the sex do not see these women as anything more than a product to be sold for profit. The traffickers say that they are pimping. They don't say they're trafficking because they don't really see a problem with that. However, we need to understand that this is a business. And so for the purpose of this discussion, we will be talking about sex trafficking, which is the use of force, fraud, or coercion to obtain some type of commercial sex. And as I said, these traffickers and these Johns, they do not see these victims as human beings. They are only products. They are products, but here I need to tell you that these products are human beings, and they are human beings that you all and we all care about. Starbucks, Sony, and sex trafficking are all $100 billion industries in revenue per year. Yes, a criminal industry makes the same amount as these well-known companies because of its wildly successful business model. And the girls who are sold in this trade are sold for about $30 for 15 minutes of sex, meaning they're going to bring home about $2,100 to their trafficker every single week. This means that they are sold for the equivalent of an 85-inch smart TV. But I believe we must disrupt this business model because I think humans are worth so much more than your smart TV in your home. We need to know how recruiting happens because that's what the supply is. And we need to understand that recruiting is super successful because they promise the victims something they crave, a sense of belonging and love. The trafficker might promise the victim a week of drug supply or simply a place to stay on their couch. They might intimidate them, or they might say that they owe them something or that they're going to hurt their families, when the reality is this isn't actually true. However, recruiting is so successful because 79.7% of victims, they know their trafficker. This means that it's normally a family member trafficking another family member, or a promising relationship turns in to be profitable for only the pimp. A lot of victims are asked, why'd you stay? Why didn't you leave? Why didn't you get help? But Elizabeth Smart, who was held captive for 9 months, has replied, it's not because any one of us enjoys being hurt. It's not because any one of us likes being raped or kidnapped. It's because we do everything we can in our power to survive. And there is a reason why we make those decisions. So it's our job to understand that their own reason was reason enough, and we need to make recruiting just a little bit harder. The way that the trafficker gets their supply is through offering this victim something they haven't really had before: drugs, getting your hair done, getting your nails done, maybe sleeping in a safe place. That is going to cost them a one-time fee of $50 to $500, meaning that they have to pay a really small fee for what their profit is, which is $2,100 every single week. But we can make recruiting a little bit harder by promoting FOSTA and SESTA, which were legislation that were signed into law in 2018 to curb what happened in 2016 with the Backpage.com crisis. These laws now hold websites accountable for what their users are posting. The government has reported that after these laws have been put into place, sex trafficking ads have decreased by 90%. Snapchat is a social media platform that we are all familiar with. We use it every day. But this is a place where traffickers go to recruit their product. They can get their product here for $0 and act as if they have these pure intentions when they really don't. But these products that I'm talking about, they're all human beings. These products are human beings that we all care about so much. But Snapchat, they're doing something about it. They use Google Child Sexual Match technology, as well as photo DNA, to identify this inappropriate material and report it to law enforcement and do something about it. Snapchat has also worked with Apple to potentially remove Instagram and Facebook from the App Store because they were not addressing the trafficking issue that was happening on their sites. However, because Instagram and Facebook responded by soliciting new technology, they decided not to remove it from the App Store. But we need more companies like Apple and Snapchat holding other companies accountable. Lastly, for supply, another way that the trafficker's overhead is a lot more minimal to their profit is because the actual time it takes to recruit and groom this supply. The trafficker, they're doing little to nothing. They're sitting at home using their phone to make sure that this bottom bitch tells all these girls where to go. This bottom bitch is a girl who has probably been with the trafficker the longest. One thing I need you to understand is that women and victims, of course there are men, we need to understand that they are only referred to as bitches in this trade. I don't really think that they deserve to be referred to as such, so I'm gonna call this bottom bitch the bottom boss. The bottom boss, as I said, has normally been with the trafficker the longest. She might make sure that the victims are where they need to be, might even recruit them and grooms them to make sure that they don't really want to leave. This bottom boss might get to ride in the front seat or sleep in the same bed as the trafficker, but these are really small payments that this bottom boss is paying for doing crimes against her will. It is said that if we are actually serious about ending modern-day slavery, we have got to be serious about protecting this bottom boss. Now, let's talk about demand. Demand is really important because if there wasn't as much demand, there wouldn't be as much supply. And people like sex, so demand will always be out there. And although sex can be a great thing that can bring individuals together, it can become really, really harmful when age and consent lines are blurred. The demand for the product, it's always abundant. But let's look here, right? This is a product. These products, they're human beings. These products are human beings that we all care about. But we can use chatbots like Gracie. Gracie is actually powered out of Atlanta, Georgia by an organization called Street Grace. Gracie is a chatbot that talks with potential predators, and whenever that intent to buy sex from a minor is confirmed, she says, "Gotcha," and she points them to law enforcement, and she also shames them a little bit and says that this is really illegal and what you're doing is really bad. Gracie has spoken with predators across 25 states. She has performed over 1,000 intercepts per month and has spoken with over 6,000 would-be predators. 80% of buyers who are caught in this way, who are first-time buyers, who are caught in this way, do not seek underage sex ever again. Meaning Gracie could be our single greatest weapon to ending underage sex trafficking. Next, let's talk about some John schools. John schools are schools that act as more of a diversion program. These schools are schools where offenders are sent by law enforcement as well as other health entities to learn about the actual consequences and impacts of their actions. John schools aim to clarify two common misconceptions about buying commercial sex, which are the risk of getting caught is very, very low, as well as that these prostitutes are actually participating unwillingly. A lot of people who are soliciting commercial sex don't understand that these prostitutes are not doing this willingly. So these schools aim to clarify this and really hone in on the impact of what these people are actually doing. But we need them to be a little bit more uniform in all states, and we need to develop them more, because today might have been your first time that you heard about a John school. Finally, the most important thing that we can do to decrease demand is to criminalize buying commercial sex. Although it is illegal to buy commercial sex, it is often the prostitutes who are thrown in jail, while the pimps and Johns are often the ones fined and put right back out on the street. However, we can use something called the Nordic approach. The Nordic approach was created by Sweden, where law enforcement shifts their focus from the prostitutes to the traffickers and the Johns. Seattle has had great success with this approach. Seattle Police Captain Eric Sano says, "We make it really hard for the people who are out there trying to purchase sex, because we believe that if there wasn't as much demand, there would not be as much supply." So, what if we all adopted this way of law enforcement? What if we all thought about it this way? Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania did, and they saw a 75% reduction in 911 calls. In analyzing the trade in this way, from a supply and demand perspective, it can be really weird to think about such a heinous crime from a business model. But we can really identify creative ways to disrupt what really drives this industry: money. We can be serious about ending modern-day slavery. We can be really serious about making people realize that these products that I'm talking about, they are human beings. They are human beings that we all care so deeply about. Thank you.